It's Showtime Synergy. The latest review podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network is here. So join TFG1Mike, Nicole Hailstorm, and myself, Lady Rec, as we will be reviewing all 65 episodes of Jet on the Holograms in a 25-episode-long podcast. You can find Showtime Synergy on iTunes and GeekCastRadio.com. We are the truly outrageous podcast that you want to be listening to.
And the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is OptimusSolo, and welcome to the 39th chapter in Tales of Eternia. With me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise, as always, is TFG1Mike. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Episode 39. That means we are winding our way to the end of this first section of the Powers of Grayskull series.
Yep. Can't get here fast enough.
Oh, come on. It's been a good ride, and it's been maybe some of the best parts have been towards this end. We've been on a very good streak, so don't jinx it.
Well,
so besides being ready for episode 45 to come, and your anxiousness for this chapter to be over, are you still ready? Are you still excited to get into episodes here, or are you just dreading it every time?
No. I'll tell you this right now. No. Dreading it every time is when I finished at the end of last year. Because it's like, I have to watch all these crappy cartoons, then I have to get audio clips from all these crappy cartoons, then I have to, even though I enjoyed it immensely, then I have to sit down with somebody and try to formulate an opinion of really, really shitty cartoons.
Right.
So, I am still excited. It feels like we've been doing this for 5 years. It really, really does. 130 episodes of a cartoon. You know, I always complain about cartoons today where the networks, whether it's Cartoon Network, whether it's Nickelodeon, whoever it is, Disney, they don't give them enough time or enough time of a chance to get their feet under them. And it's like, oh my God, 130 episodes of He-Man, what the hell were we thinking?
We were smart. We were thinking it was fun, and it has been so far, so stop it.
I'm trying to think, was there anything else I had to bring up?
How great of a co-host I am.
No, that's definitely not. No, that's definitely not on my list.
So there can't be anything else. If it's not that, that's nothing else. All right.
Actually, this episode will air
dun, dun, dun.
The 27th.
We air these episodes? Wait, the public can hear these?
Yes, I know, right?
Ooh.
It's a damn shame, isn't it?
8 minutes.
This episode will shut up. This episode will air Tuesday, January 27th, 2014. On Sunday, January 18th, I will have launched episode 0 of Showtime Synergy, which is our gem review podcast. Anyone that listens to this show, go listen to that show as well.
Some interesting news on that front here this week.
Oh, what?
Some interesting news on that front this week. Not trying to give anything away, but it seems like you may have secured a pretty interesting interview.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you're revealing it, so I'm not going to say who. And it's so big that Mike's actually dying on the other.
For a second there, I thought you meant the one we already recorded. But basically, God, God damn it, you asshole. Let me get my pitch out first, you jerk.
Say it.
So,
And it's coming.
shut up. So, Showtime Synergy is our gem review podcast that will be starting. The episode 0 will have launched January 18th. We did a brand new interview with creator of the cartoon series, head writer Christy Marks, which would have aired on the 23rd of this month in January 2015. The actual podcast will not start airing until May 10th, but in between that time, we may actually be getting another new interview with Gem herself, Miss Samantha Newark.
If that's not awesome, folks, you need to check your pulse.
Yeah. If that's not truly outrageous, there's something wrong with you.
I see what you did.
and it's so funny because because, and I know this is completely non-He-Man related, but it's very rare that you and I are on a show where we get to generally chat about stuff. So I'm just taking over.
Chatting with you.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Joke.
Man, you took a bunch of jerk pills tonight, didn't you?
That's not all the time. I'm gonna record.
How Showtime Synergy is going to work is if we get, hopefully we get a lot of it, if we get any feedback, all of the feedback is going to have to be responded to in episode 25, which is the grand finale of the podcast, because of a situation with one of my co-hosts, Amy. She, at the time when I brought the idea to her and Nicole, I said, you know, is it possible for we can do this? She had just found out she was pregnant with her third child. So we had to basically do all the production of Showtime Synergy a year in advance. So we recorded pretty much all of it last year in 2014. We have, right now, we're up to recording episode 18 of the podcast. But yeah, no, I went back and I listened to our Tooncast Classic episode with Diana Lou Brummett from 80s Cartoon Podcast.
Why did you do that to yourself?
I gotta say, out of all the early Tooncast episodes, it's one of the better ones, at least in audio quality standards.
It shows how far we've come. There's an interesting story on that. When I first started listening to podcasts here, like hardcore in the last year, on my way to work, et cetera, I've listened to some of our own stuff. I've listened to some shows I've been on back just to kind of, for my own good and improvement purposes. And I've listened to, outside podcasts, et cetera. And I use a app called Podcast Addict. It's something you can download on your phone. And it basically lets you search. You could search like movies. It'll come up with all the different podcasts. Or you can search by episodes. Like if you're looking for any episode out there and any podcast that's on Transformers, you could just type in Transformers and check episodes, or check for like podcasts that actually focus on it. So anyways, and then they save all these and update you as new episodes are out. So like, I guess the dashboard, if you want to call it, for this app,
right,
has all the different podcasts that I'm subscribed to, which include most of ours, and then, about 6 or 7 outside of the Geekcast Radio Network. Right. But the way this works is, if you completely listen to an episode from its ending, it puts like a little green check mark that episode's been listened to. And if you haven't, if you stopped like somewhere in the middle for whatever reason, you had to pause, you had to stop, something came up, whatever, it kind of saves where you were. It's almost like the resume play on like a DVD or a PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah.
So what happens is, at one point I must have been listening to the Gem episode or possibly the telecast episode right before that.
Yeah.
And I finished it and it started the Gem episode, but then I didn't necessarily want to listen to that episode at the time, so I had paused it. So now every single time I listen to any other episode of any other podcast, once it finishes, if I don't hit stop, it will automatically pick up in the Gem episode because I haven't finished that yet. So I hear like 5 seconds worth of the Gem episode every time I finish any other podcast episode. So that's funny that you said you just listened to it, because in a way I have also just listened to bits and pieces of it.
Well, I wanted to, because we're starting this new show, and yeah, sure, Amy and Nicole and I have already done the production on 75% of this podcast, but I wanted to go back and listen to that episode because I wanted to see what I was like in 2009 when it came to Gem. I know I've always loved the cartoons.
You are now.
No. I've always said that I love the Gem cartoon series, but I never really remembered a lot of it. And the difference in 2009 was we should have actually probably waited 2 years to do that episode, because I did not have the original, and it's not like the He-Man DVDs. There were Rhino DVDs that Rhino put out. And I'm sure at the time they were as complete as they possibly could be, but by the time we got to it in 2009, it was like, well, those are all out of print. It's like those old Transformers Rhino DVDs. You'd be able to get them on eBay for like $300-$400 because they're all out of print stuff. And I remember I wanted to listen back to that episode because I wanted to see what I was like towards the show, and I'm like, wow. I remember I made the comment to you about in the episode about how I didn't really care for the music videos, and you said, "Oh no, that's one of the best things about the show." And the sad thing is, when people hear Showtime Synergy, they'll hear me saying, "Oh wow," because they had to at some point after the first season, they had to reuse songs. Like a Dream or Making Mischief by the Misfits. They had to reuse songs at some points because they couldn't do all new songs all the time. And I constantly compliment in the new podcast about the reuses of the music videos and how they tie into.
So in other words, what you're roundabout saying is that I was right and you were wrong.
No, not necessarily.
That's what I heard. That's what everybody heard out there in podcast listening land. It's kind of like TV land on Nickelodeon. It's podcast land.
So yeah, bottom line, folks, go over to go over to geekcastradio.com. Check out Showtime Synergy. It's going to be a blast. I've said this on air to them, and I've said it off air to them. Between Amy and Nicole, the two of them, we spend maybe 2.5-3 hours recording episodes each week, and I need to send both of them my medical bills if I have to go in and have my jaw realigned from laughing so hard. Because that's all we do is just laugh so hard on that show.
Excellent.
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
Let's get away from laughing and let's reel Mike back into the land of Eternia and the Powers of Grayskull series, which is what everybody is listening for. By everybody, I mean the two people that listen into this show. All right. In this episode of Tales of Eternia, we will be giving you our thoughts on episode 114, Battle of the Dragons, episode 115, Time Doesn't Fly, and episode 116, Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere. So we hope you're ready, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
Do you think it'll take much longer, Man-at-Arms?
No, that should do it. It's a long trip to Darksmoke, but the Wind Raider's as ready as she'll ever be.
Great. I can hardly wait to see Granomir again. This should be a pretty special trip.
Yes, the anniversary of the treaty between dragons and humans. To be invited to represent Eternians everywhere. That's a high honor.
It's too bad we couldn't bring Orko along. He really wanted to come.
Granomir sent for He-Man and Man-at-Arms, and that's who he's going to get. Maybe Orko can talk to Granomir some other time.
I don't want to talk to Granomir. I just want to see him. I'll just sneak in here and hide. Nobody'll ever know I was along for the ride.
Well, if Granomir's expecting He-Man, I'd bet...
Something wrong, Adam?
I thought I heard something. Must have been my imagination. By the power of Grayskull!
All right, we start today with episode 114, Battle of the Dragons, written by J. Michael Straczynski, who we're getting somewhat used to. I believe this is his 5th episode that we've talked about here in Season 2. The air date for Battle of the Dragons is Friday, November 16th, 1984. He-Man and Man-at-Arms are invited to Darksmoke, and Orko tags along. But the evil dragon Morningstar steals the magic flame of Granomir and blames the Eternians to start a new war between dragons and humans in hopes that the dragons can take over rule of Eternia. There are no evil warriors here, but for the Masters we have obviously Prince Adam and He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Orko, so a small crew today outside of the dragons. And the PSA is about winning and losing and how you need to be a good loser, but also a good winner. We've talked before about very much in favor of Granomir episodes, and of these dragon-based episodes. Somewhat surprising that it's not the typical writer for those episodes, but still somebody that we are somewhat growing accustomed to. How do you think J. Michael Straczynski set up the storyline for this dragon episode, and how did you feel about the plot as far as dragons wanting to take over Eternia and there being kind of a dissension among the dragon ranks?
I like that Straczynski didn't write Granomir the way Detilio does, because Detilio, I mean, it is the same character, but in the Larry Detilio episodes, both times, Granomir has snapped at the humans because he thought they were being disrespectful or whatever else, or the one episode where where He-Man brought Man-at-Arms without Granomir's permission kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that wasn't in this and they even pointed out, Granomir asked for He-Man and Man-at-Arms, so they said, Orko, sorry, you can't come because, heaven forbid Granomir, blast us with his dragon fire or whatever the hell. So I like that they addressed it, but I also like at the same time that when Orko does sneak in the exhaust port of God, talk about that in Snake Mountain, but when Orko does sneak aboard the Wind Raider and does eventually come and Granomir's pretty nice to him. Granomir's not, his usual grumpy old man self. So I kind of like that about the plot. As far as the whole dragons and breaking the treaty, and if they had set this up a little bit better, if they had done this, kind of made mention of this character. But this one thing I don't like about the series, and one thing we're going to talk about when we get to the overall podcast recap, is that they just bring in characters to bring them in. I do not remember Morningstar from the last Dragon episode at all. I do not remember him at all whatsoever. He seems to be a new character to me, and I just don't like that. It just seems so weird now, because we're 113, right?
Yep.
We're 113 episodes in. Find some way to address these people. Find some way in other episodes to, even if it's on the tail. And I know they didn't do this back then, and I know it's not going to matter now because the show has been over for over 30 years now. But you know how on some shows today they'll do that happy ending at the end, but then they'll cut away to let you know that the villain is still there, mm-hmm. kind of thing. I wish they would have done that a little bit to introduce us to this character before just, here you go.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have as big of a problem with it because I thought before we really didn't get to know much of the dragon culture or civilization, and it was kind of just like Granomir was an island to himself. We knew that there was other dragons, but it was basically our only exposure was, for the most part, Granomir. And so I liked that we were getting other faces and other things. It's almost like the same type of feeling I have when we see different Trolans. It adds depth to that race or civilization. So I didn't necessarily mind it, and I like that there was a bad one, kind of like, the one that wanted the power type thing. I didn't have as big of a problem with not being introduced to him prior to this, and just kind of set the stage for this. The first time we met Granomir was back in Season 1 with Dragon's Gift, which was the Larry Detilio episode dealing with Granomir and the Sky Tree. I gave that episode a 4.5, and you gave it a 5. So we both really liked that one. Then in the second half of Season 1, we had the Return of Granomir, which we both gave 5s. Again, written also by Larry Detilio. And then we saw it one more time in Season 2 in Disappearing Dragons, which I gave a 4.5 and you gave a 4. So this is now our fourth time seeing Granomir. And for me, the reason I don't, like I said, I don't think we've been exposed to enough of the other dragons. So that's why I guess I didn't mind it as much. And I like the idea that there's this treaty that's being endangered, and the whole idea that I think it adds depth to the history of Eternia, where now is the time that humans are ruling, but there have been previous ages, if you want to say, almost like
right.
on Earth, if we've had, like the dinosaur age or whatever, different ages where at one point, dragons probably did rule, Eternia, and maybe some other races or creatures or civilizations did as well. So I think it adds depth both to the dragons themselves and to Eternia's history, and that there could be like this rebirth of dragon rule or a dragon age. I know that's probably trademarked, that quote, that phrase right there. But so I didn't mind it as much. And since we've had 3 episodes of Granomir that the lowest either one of us has rated has been a 4, anytime we see Granomir, I'm willing to get on board for it.
No, I know, and I am too. I just wish. So you said we had 5 total Granomir
This
episodes,
is the 4th.
right?
This is the 4th.
Oh, okay, so in 4 total Granomir episodes, in the previous 3, they couldn't have, like, when, in the very first episode, when they met Granomir for the very first time, there were other dragons around there. They couldn't have at least, like, shown us a glimpse. I
agree. That would have been cool.
That's the only problem I have with it. It's not that I don't have a problem that it's a Granomir episode at all. I love it, but that's my only problem. If they can do something where a character is blue in one episode and pink in another, they could have introduced this dragon.
I don't necessarily fault J. Michael Straczynski for this, though.
I don't. I'm saying...
I think it would have been cool if Detilio in one of his 3 episodes would have at least given us shots of maybe some other important dragons, just as like a foresight of, hey, I like writing these episodes. He obviously wrote 3 of them, so maybe I'll just like show you bits and pieces of characters that I don't have to use, but I could use in the future if I wanted to. But he really didn't do that, so he didn't really set the stage for any other dragons to ever be characters, so to speak. So, obviously, J. Michael Straczynski, kind of cool that he saw the desire to progress the storyline, but in order to get any dragons, he kind of had to make them up on his own, because Detilio really didn't set the stage for any to be used later on, if that makes any sense.
It does, and you'd think that he would, because
he was the one that liked these episodes.
That, and he was one of the ones that partially came up with the series Bible. You would think
it's really a missed opportunity. This whole series and this whole Toyline, etc., missed out on a chance. They could have had a whole sub line of different dragon figures. Seriously, kids love dragons, and they could have had like 4 or 5 different dragons that.
You there? You cut out.
You're taken advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we mentioned it in that very first Granomir episode. It took them 30 years. It took Mattel 30 years to make a Granomir figure, and they made it in the Masters of the Universe Classics series line, so it's a big... it's in scale to what he would be, to a 6.5, 7-inch figure.
So now they need to make a Morningstar character.
No.
Figure.
No. Actually, I think this year is the last year for the Masters Classics line. I don't know if it's going to come back. Only time will tell if that movie ever happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else plot-wise, sir?
Nah.
All right, well, let's make our way for the first time today to Castle Grayskull.
Do not presume to bargain with me, Targon. You will regret it.
Targon does not like to be told what to do. Not even by you, Morningstar.
I don't care. If Targon does not like my plan, then Targon can leave. But when I rule Eternia, Targon will find his life very, very unhappy.
Very well, Morningstar. I will do what you say. For now.
Excellent. Once you give me the ice crystal, I will put out the magic fire from which our beloved leader Granomir draws his powers. Then I shall take over and lead a war against the people of Eternia.
And me? What of me?
We will find some small role for you in ruling Eternia. Perhaps you will govern Eternos itself. Now, the ice crystal.
How do I know I can trust you with it?
You don't, but you have no choice.
Take it then.
Excellent. And now to test it, just to be sure.
No! No, not on me!
pay a visit to Granomir.
All right, for the first time today, we find ourselves in the midst of Castle Grayskull to talk about things that we liked about Battle of the Dragons. Mike, I'll let you go first.
Oh boy.
Hopefully you have a few.
The obvious. Yay, a Granomir episode.
Almost fine word for word what I have in my notes.
Yeah. I do love the interactions between Granomir and the Masters because, as I said in the plot, you know, he doesn't have that giant chip on his shoulder, which is really cool. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's 4th of July celebration now features an exploding Orko. I love, this is kind of something silly and stupid probably, but I didn't notice until now, until this episode where they get a lot of close-ups on him. The detail and design in the Granomir, not the animation, but the drawing design itself, the characteristics of the character model, it's super detailed. I didn't realize he was that like he, you know, I mean, I know dragons have scales and skin and all this and all that and whatever else, but in the other episodes, I never really noticed it, and I did this one, and I really, really dig his design in this one.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
What about you?
I think they did that. I think they did this whole episode overall is good with the close-ups, because I thought there was also a lot of cool close-ups with Adam/He-Man and Man-at-Arms, too, as well as Granomir. They do a lot of close-ups in this episode, and I thought they showed just how well some of these things are drawn and painted, etc. So definitely good with the art aspect of this episode. It wasn't executed perfectly, but I like them trying to use the stock Adam footage before he transforms into He-Man, and he was actually talking other lines of dialogue, which they don't normally do. Like when Adam's in that pose before he turns into He-Man, he actually talked this episode during that posing, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Some cool lines and dialogue also in this episode, including have you ever tried to bargain with a dragon? I thought that was kind of a clever line. Obviously, like you said, I always love a Granomir sighting. I like seeing more of the dragon kind. We already kind of talked about that, but I liked seeing more of those characters that actually got to speak. We got to see at least 2 or 3 of them speak in this episode. And I love the storyline dealing with this whole war, like a dragon war on the humans, etc. You know, it's not very often where we get such an imposing force that, you know, just the regular humans have to deal with. I thought it was cool that we had the full circle moment where if you follow this whole storyline with Granomir through the 4 episodes, that it's finally Orko is somewhat finally winning over Granomir in this episode, which before, you know, Granomir didn't necessarily like Orko that much.
Yeah,
I thought they could have put a line in there towards the end before the laughing line where Granomir could have said something about, you know, you're not so bad or you're not as bad as I thought you were or something, but still we get to see that whole relationship go full circle. I always like the kind of timeless journey adventure storyline where it's like, oh, we need something and you got to traverse, you know, through these obstacles or through this different terrain to try to get this artifact or this thing, in this case the fire. I always enjoy those storylines and to see what kind of stuff's going to come up along their way. This actually has the feel of an actual fantasy movie almost at one point. Like this whole episode and storyline with Granomir could have been like its own mini movie if you kind of like did some editing and would have not necessarily pieced these 4 individual episodes together, but kind of parts of that whole storyline. It could have been like a little mini He-Man movie. That was definitely probably Orko's most badass moment in the whole series. when he's basically fighting the dragon, and trying to win over that. Like that's as badass as he's been.
Yeah.
When he has the firepower in him and he kind of harnesses it to a point and just starts unleashing hell on Morningstar. That was cool.
All I can think of is Orko with a red hat and blue underoos and red overalls now. Orko is Mario. Firepower Orko.
I thought it was also cool that they had that little test of fire where Granomir and Morningstar were kind of battling it out to see. It's that classic thing when you have 2 people shooting each other with some type of laser or power or fire, and it's like which one's going to win as they both meet each other. So that was cool. Granomir, as always, is the model of ethics and morals and upstandingness, and you know, and the fact that he doesn't necessarily do what he could have done. So that was a good example for the kids. Fun watching Orko with Granomir the whole episode, actually.
Absolutely.
Including Granomir laughing at the end with the line, "I haven't laughed this hard in 1,000 years," which is probably true since we never really saw him laugh before. Just a lot to like about this episode. I could go on and on, but those are the main things. So a lot to like, not a lot to dislike, but we'll see what there is as we make our way to Snake Mountain.
Perfect. And now to put out Granomir's power once and for all. Who dares? Who dares to invade my home, put out my fire, and steal my magic? Humans, oh great Granomir. What? I saw them, Granomir, with my own eyes.
Well, He-Man, we're nearly there. Dark smoke should be coming into view any time now.
Great. If I know Granomir, he's probably got quite a welcoming party for us.
Neato. I can hardly wait.
Granomir? Humans coming this way.
Humans? How fortunate for me, and how unfortunate for them. There, you see, I was right. Humans. Get them! Let those who stole the magic flame of Granomir feel the wrath of dragons.
No, wait. They might be friends.
Dragons have no friends among the humans.
All right, we're here at Snake Mountain for anything that we might not have liked about Battle of the Dragons. Anything, sir?
Just a bunch of nitpicks, just some small things.
I'm all about nitpicks. Let's hear them, sir.
Yeah. I've already mentioned, so I don't need to bring up again. So one dragon I can't remember us hearing about before. This just immediately shows up and wants to conquer the planet. Huh.
They're always laying in the weeds before they make their move.
You're telling... Okay, this is where the nitpicks come in. You're telling me the dragons put the fire signs in the cavern? Granomir even said he couldn't fit down there. Why are there arrows pointing to the fire? Who put those there? It's like they hired some outside contractors or something.
Probably did. They're dragons.
I don't know.
They want.
This is... It is a nitpick, but it is a valid point. But it also kind of mirrors itself to current day comics. What war? They attacked one village, and that was it. They didn't go to Grayskull. They didn't try to go to Snake Mountain. They didn't go to the palace. What coming war? Like
they were about to. They didn't get that far.
This guy took over. He's like, go attack that village, and then we'll spread on from there. And it's Granomir keeps talking about, oh, the war is broken out, and the war this, and the war that.
You're just saying that it started. Because they'd attacked one village, and there was not going to stop at that. So the war itself had basically started.
I don't know. I guess when I think of war breaking out, I think of 2,000 people on 2,000 people on each side of a battle line, and then they all basically bravehearting it up here. Just
Dragons
like
fight like that.
I know. But I'm saying, like, when I think of a war, it doesn't matter if it's with dragons or...
You think of the American Revolution.
No, well, there is that.
World War II was much different.
Yeah. Yeah. What didn't you like about it, anything?
The boomerang sword makes a return again.
Yeah, but it works.
I always love it when he throws a sword and it magically comes back to him. I don't know if Orko just farted in that episode or if it was just some badly timed sound effects, but it definitely sounds like Orko farts. Just throwing that out there.
You mean when he has the power in him?
Yeah.
That was an explosion from the power. That I don't think that...
At one point it sounded like a fart. And he fell to the ground afterwards or something. Why didn't he just throw the fire down in the pit in the first place? Like they're in the room, he has the fire, and they're like doing a dance, and it's like, oh, we better let Morningstar get to us. Morningstar's right there. Who cares? Throw the fire down in there. I think Granomir might help you. So there was a little delay in that. And they did the test of fire. I understood what the test of fire was, but apparently they thought that there was going to be some little kids that didn't understand, so they had He-Man explain the test of fire I don't think that was necessary. They're doing a test of fire. Yeah, we see that. But yeah, just a tiny bunch of nitpicks. None of them equal much, so that's all I got. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see if the trend continues of ranking Granamere episodes high or if one of us dissents in that regard. So let's make our way to the awards and ranking section.
Okay, Morningstar.
Let's get out of here.
The fire has returned. My magic is restored. I am Granamere.
All right, it's time to hand out some hardware for the first time today. I assume I know what you're doing here, but do you have any power swords or havoc staffs to hand out?
Power sword to Granamere.
I knew you were going to do that. Read your mind. I'm actually going to dissent in that a little bit. I'm not giving a power sword to Granamere. I am instead giving a power sword to Orko.
Wow.
Because he was a badass in this episode.
Yeah.
When Orko gets legit and starts shooting fire at people, you have to give him a power sword.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So that is my power sword. Your ranking out of 5, sir.
4.5 out of 5. It just that whole. I took a half point off for the whole. Hey, new villain, yay!
All right, fair enough. I disagree. I had a few nitpicks, but none of them added up together to equal any points taken off. So I'll give this one a 5 out of 5. I just enjoyed this episode. And I'm not just doing that because Granamere's in there. I just think it's a good episode. I think it's cool with all the different dragons and the dragon war and this, that, and the other. I think there's some great moral and ethical lessons that are presented to the kids. Orko's a badass. We don't get the evil warriors and we don't really get much of the heroes, but outside of storylines that involve them, give me a dragon episode anytime if there's going to have to be an episode that doesn't involve the evil warriors. So 5 out of 5. Once again, both of us ranking Granamere episodes real high.
Yeah.
Let's see where we go after episode 114 as we make our way to the Time Doesn't Fly episode. We'll see you up next.
One miss. Try hitting this one, Tila.
Wait, Orko, the sun's still in my eyes. That's strange. It hasn't moved since we started playing.
Yeah, you're right. And those clouds haven't moved either.
Oh, isn't it time for lunch yet?
It's still 10 o'clock. That's the time we started playing.
Well, maybe your watch stopped, Tila.
Well, perhaps, Orko, but the clock stopped too.
Then the nap I took doesn't count. I guess I'll try again.
Something strange is going on here.
It's as if time has stopped.
What was that?
Someone's in trouble. Let's go.
Do we have to?
Next up today is episode 115, Time Doesn't Fly, written by Gina Bakar, air date Monday, November 19th, 1984. Evil wizard Hexon has stopped time so he can become the new emperor of Simba. But Princess Cathay, daughter of the current emperor, sets out to find the sands of time and soon receives help from He-Man and friends. We have the regulars with the queen and the king there. No evil warriors here this time. We're just dealing with the people involving this whole time and seasons. And the PSA is all about time being important to everyone. Value your time, use it wisely, don't waste time, and all things involving time. So we have the evil wizard Hexon. We have the Emperor Simba, we have the Sands of Time, and we have the Council of the Seasons. TFG1Mike, how do you feel about the plot in Time Doesn't Fly?
Just like the title of the episode, the length of the episode went on forever. Oh my god.
Apparently, Mike, not a big fan of this one. What problems do you have with the plot as far as... we get some things here about Eternia in this plot. As far as how the time and the seasons work, we get introduced to some new facets of Eternia as far as the councils of the seasons and the whole Sands of Time. What did you think about that as far as the addition of these facts about Eternia?
Other than their names, I think it's interesting. The names, the way Lord Winter and Lady Spring and oh god, just give it a rest. And this goes back to the fact that and I'm sorry to say this, I don't mean to insult anybody, but some of these no-name writers just should not be writing.
You mean you've never heard of Gina Bakar?
No.
Me neither.
No, not at all.
Well, we're in agreement on that.
I just felt like this episode was a waste of time, really. Seriously, no pun intended. I mean, it really, I mean, it's nice that we have these other facets to Eternia and we're learning about that, but at this point, learning about these seasons in Eternia and the way the planet is, it's 114 episodes too fucking late. I'm sorry.
If this had been episode 1, you would have enjoyed it.
If it had been Skeletor trying to do this plot and not some no-name villain, yeah, sure.
It's Hexon. They did not.
You know what I mean.
As a no-name person.
You know what I mean, damn it.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's somewhat interesting. I'm not a huge fan of like the whole people are controlling time and the seasons and this, that, and the other. But I mean, it adds an element to Eternia. So I'm not opposed to the plot on the surface. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I think it could lead to some interesting things and could teach us some stuff about Eternia. So on just a strictly plot level, I'm not necessarily against this episode at all.
And this plot was just needed a whole different writer and whole different spin on it.
This is the time in the episode, everybody, in our podcast, where those that enjoy when Mike and I go at each other, perk up your ears, turn up your volume, stop doing whatever you're doing, pull over, because you're going to be in for some fun here. Because even though we've been agreeing a lot lately, I don't think we're going to be agreeing much from here on out. So
no, not at all.
Exactly where we agree to disagree here as we make our way again to Castle Grayskull.
Far enough.
Yeah! This is a job for He-Man.
I was afraid of that.
By the power of Grayskull!
All right, we're at Castle Grayskull, and just for those of you that didn't hear off air, Mike actually admits that he has more Castle Grayskull moments than Snake Mountain moments in this episode.
Oh, okay, but see, here's the thing.
What are your Grayskull moments, sir? Let's hear all of them.
Okay, interesting way to start, or should I say stop the episode. Right off the bat, time stops. It's kind of something we haven't had before.
All right, so one thing you liked?
He-Man's line about that's one way to short circuit a giant. Johnny Five got disassembled.
So 2 things you like?
Orko and his sneeze powder again.
3 things you like?
And then
I know you got more.
I only got one more. And at the end, when He-Man's like, "Now where'd Orko go? What are you doing in there?"
All right, 4 things you like. That's good. That's good.
That's it.
I think you should like also learning about Eternia and how time and seasons work on Eternia. That should be your 5th thing that you like.
Man, not really.
It's a unique plot. It's something we've never.
It's too late. If they had
my
done
turn
this,
at Castle Grayskull.
If they had done this 50 episodes ago, maybe I would have liked it more. But
it's a unique plot because it's something we haven't seen up through 115 episodes. We haven't had a single episode dealing necessarily with the seasons or how life in Eternia actually progresses, etc. So it's definitely a unique plot, and I give them credit for 115 episodes and not rehashing something we've already seen before. And come on, Hexon is incredible in design. He looks like a bad guy from Smurfs or Rainbow Bright. I mean, he doesn't necessarily look like he belongs in this universe, but the guy looks hilarious.
He looks like Gargamel's gassy twin brother or something. Like seriously,
or the Peculiar Pie Man or Murky and Lurky. Like he deserves to be with one of those guys.
Look at that! Look at that name, Hexon. The first thing I think of is, let's go to his gas station and fill up. Really,
that's how
seriously.
TFG1's brain works, everybody. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't write a ton of stuff down for Castle Grayskull because I just overly was fine with the episode. I wasn't seeing a bunch of stuff to write down as far as like, this is a great moment. But it still kept my attention and kept me entertained. And I didn't write a ton down for Snake Mountain either. But let's get to Snake Mountain so we can actually hear why Mike doesn't like this episode, and he better be able to defend himself. We're going there next.
Of course I can.
He never does.
It's a Tila moment. Of course I can. You should at least agree with me on that one.
I haven't written the word Tila down in weeks. Don't even make...
Well,
Don't go there.
She
I didn't know she was in this series anymore. I erased her from my memory. Bastard. Let's get to Snake Mountain.
Castle Mountain? What the hell?
The task is nearly complete. Now to be sure that not another moment will pass on Eternia. Away you go, now! To the sand dunes of Ranya.
If you send the sands of time there, how will we ever find them again? They'll be lost in all that sand.
Correct, former Keeper of Time. Only my magic can retrieve just the right grains of sand. Only this last grain of sand, this last second of time, remains. I will keep time itself prisoner until I am Emperor of Sinbar. It will be mine forever.
All right, we're at Snake Mountain for Time Doesn't Fly. You hated this episode. Why?
We see that the girl is very far down in the chasm, the hole, whatever the hell it is, yet Tila wants to just reach as far as she can without falling over, and she says, I can't reach her. No shit, Tila. She's like 10 feet away from you. And then Tila falls in the fucking hole. Oh, God, what the hell is wrong with that woman? Once again, and you should like this, once again, no explanation of where Adam is or why He-Man had to leave. He leaves without Tila and Cafe. Because he goes one way, they go the other way, but when he comes back, because that's just getting to me. We're 100 and something episodes in, and now that you pointed it out, it's like every time I notice it that there's no explanation of, and just, it doesn't even have to be a long, drawn-out Adam went looking for help, or Adam went back to the palace, or Adam went fishing, or Adam is a lazy bastard, or whatever. Worst names ever as far as council members. Just like Lord and Lady is the only thing you can come up with for spring, summer, winter, and fall. Really? Seriously? This episode is just so boring. A no-name villain,
Hexon.
A standard plot. You know what the hell I mean. Standard plot is just
standard
boring.
plot that we've never seen before in 115 episodes.
Okay, the events of the plot we haven't seen, but it's your standard plot of somebody wanting to take over.
Yeah.
He wants to take over a kingdom. We've seen that in the past 114, 115 episodes many, many times.
I disagree with you. The only bad things about this episode were there were terrible voices on the Council of the Seasons. As usual, I'm harping on the voices. Bad voices on the Council of the Seasons. But there was somewhat decent voices on Hexon and the Emperor and the Keeper of Time or whatever. But the Council themselves had terrible voices. They also had some terrible arm animation on Hexon. Right before he goes to claim his throne, he like reaches up and his arm is like Stretch Armstrong. It's like twice as long as it should be. That's literally the only thing I could come up with as far as this episode. Terrible voices and a mistake on the arm animation. Otherwise, there's not really much bad to say about Time Doesn't Fly, regardless of what you've heard from TFG1Mike. So let's get to the awards and rankings and see exactly where we fall with Time Doesn't Fly.
It's pretty horrible. This is an episode you should never, ever watch again.
That's not true.
Yes.
There it is, Cringer. The Temple of the Council of Seasons.
You go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, old friend. We have a job to do.
Why always we?
by the power of Grayskull.
All right, it's time for awards and rankings for episode 115, Time Doesn't Fly. Any hardware to give out, sir?
Havoc staff to the writer.
How did I know you were going to do that?
She should never write another episode of this series ever again. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. I'll give a power sword to He-Man and Orko as well, because they had some pretty funny lines in this one. What about you?
Honestly, I didn't have anything this episode. Didn't see anything that was terrible. Didn't see anything that was great. It was just a decent episode overall. So no hardware for me. And ranking-wise, where do you fall on Time Doesn't Fly?
The two comedy moments with He-Man, the one with He-Man with the line about the short circuit, and then the one at the end with Orko is the only reason why this gets 2 out of 5 Orkos. This would have been a 0 otherwise if those comedy bits were not in there.
Stop it.
Nope.
It's not that bad.
Yep.
As usual, Mike is wrong.
No, Kevin's wrong.
He can't edit his way out of this one. Or quick stop the record so that I'm not here. I thought that was cool to learn more about Eternia, the Council of Seasons and the Emperor and the Sands of Time and all this stuff. A little convoluted maybe at times, but overall, for an episode, that doesn't have the Evil Warriors, I didn't think it was that bad. Not the best episode, but not the worst. I'm going to be somewhere about in the middle, but slightly on the positive side. All that said, I give this one a 3.5 Battle Cats out of 5. 3.5. That's about the proper rating for this episode. So, with that being said, let's see if we end on a positive or negative note as we make our way to episode 116. Coming up next, Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere.
That should do it.
Well, let's try it out. Cringer, can we borrow that Rango berry? Now, don't talk with your mouth full, Cringer.
Like I was saying, if you really need it...
Thanks, buddy. Hey, it works.
Not perfectly. The duplicates are only half the original size. No complaints here.
Orko, what are you doing here?
I was lonely at the palace without you guys. I thought I'd pay a visit.
What's going on?
Mossman, this is supposed to be a secret test.
I wasn't spying. I came out here for a nap. I'll go find another spot.
Now, even when he's not trying to be, Mossman's a spy. Being able to change into any plant can sure be handy. Say, what are you guys doing out here with that thing?
Man-at-Arms' new duplicating machine just made me an extra dessert.
Oh, that's not so hard. I can make a lot more if that's what you want. Single, double, magic desserts. Turn this berry into more yummy desserts. Sorry.
Well, as long as you're here, Orko, you can help us collect the tools. Orko?
Well, at least it worked.
Last up today is episode 116, Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere, written by Ken Cinnamon and Karen Wengrad. On the episode, it's actually credited as Cinnamon Wengrad. I guess they didn't want to be credited as two separate people, and apparently Don Glut did something to do with a few of the characters as far as writing of those. Air date of Tuesday, November 20th, 1984. Skeletor steals Man-at-Arms' duplicating machine and creates an army of half-sized clones of himself. With these Skeletoids, he is certain he can take over Eternia for himself. It goes to the classic line that he never has any good, evil warriors, so he has to do it all himself. He's taken that quite literally in this episode. Bad guys, we have Skeletor, Whiplash, and a quick, non-speaking cameo by Too Bad and Modulok. Masters include all the normals, including Mossman, Mechanic, and Cyclone. The PSA cannot have too much, you can have too much of a good thing. So it's all about moderation, and that cloning created too many for anybody's good. But just the whole idea of clones of Skeletors, I guess. Here, there, Skeletors Everywhere. How do you feel about the plot of this episode and there being multiple Skeletors?
I love this one, but why
Thank
didn't
God.
he go to... Shut the hell up. I like the Granomir episode. Shut the hell up. What the hell's wrong with you?
I thought you were going to hate this episode and I was going to have to be so angry with you.
No. Oh, no. This is amazing. This is one of the best episodes of the entire series. My only question about the plot is, why the hell didn't he go to Grayskull and do this? He's always wanting to get into Grayskull and take over Grayskull. Why didn't he take his mini-me's and go to Grayskull? That's my only real problem with the episode, and it's a
can't open it
nitpick.
anyways.
Hello, a mini Skeletor or an army of mini Skeletors could just scale the wall and climb in through that little window that the sorceress always flies out of. I mean,
I think it's that easy.
Hey, it could be.
Yeah, when we met the spirit of Castle Grayskull a couple of
the spirit schmear it.
He'll kick your ass.
Do crap. What about you on the plot?
I like it. I like the idea. We've had these types of devices before. Obviously, it's a classic 80s trope of a cartoon having some type of new technological or mechanical item that somebody invents or that you have to find. But this time they're taking it a step further and actually having it create clones of things, or in this case of Skeletors. And, it wasn't worked all the way out, so it's only creating half-size clones. I just think from a comedy standpoint, this is gold when it comes to He-Man.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the funniest episodes of the entire series. So I have no problem with multiple Skeletors. I think that's a cool idea. We haven't seen it before, so I'm all about the plot and all about some other things that we'll get to. And I guess in this episode, I would say you can't have too much of a good thing, but I understand the moderation PSA, and I have no problem with that. So, all right, we will make our way for the last time today to Castle Grayskull to talk about all the different things we like about Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere.
Is it over? We're safe, Cringer. On second thought...
We've landed in the tar swamp and we're sinking.
Oh, no!
By the power of Grayskull!
All right, it's time for the Castle Grayskull moments for episode 116. I will start because I haven't done that yet today. Things I liked about Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere. First, Mossman as a spy. I didn't really get that was one of his main functions because I'm an idiot. But they did it so well in this one, and they did such a good job disguising him and having him blend into things and then come back out. So I really liked what they did with Mossman here. And it's always cool seeing different masters. So I'm all for that. That's something that I always want, and I got it in droves in this episode. Like I said, the classic tech machine invention thing, I have no problem with that. It's a fun, overused angle, so I'm not going to hate on it for that. I can't remember what the name of that thing is, but I like the Evil Warrior vehicle that they're flying through the air, where somebody can point out what the name of that is, because I don't really ever keep track of vehicle names. But I thought it was cool. I like when he's lands in the tar Skeletor and he says, "Nice going, Whiplash." I don't know. I just found that moment funny. And we also learned how you jumpstart a Wind Raider.
Yeah, He-Man and Battle Cat pull it.
And then you just have him fly a kite style, and that's like giving it a jump. I like the attack track when they're like, "What are you going to do?" Or, whatever. They come up to that chasm, and Mechanic's in the car, and attack track's like, "You're kind of new here, aren't you?" He just drives down the cliff and then up the cliff. I mean, come on. The Skeletoids, or what I like to call them, just the mini Skeletors. They're awesome. The voice modulation effect make them sound, smaller and like they're sucking on helium. They're just hilarious.
That's what we need. That's what we need. We need Alan Oppenheimer to do what, God, who is the other one? We need an Alan Oppenheimer, Morgan Freeman moment. That's what we really need. We need Alan Oppenheimer as Skeletor, sucking on helium and doing Skeletoids for us. That would be so amazing.
I like hearing about the Rainbow Tunnel, or the secret passage that was built into the palace for Adam and Tila. And come on, all the character appearances, seeing Cyclone, seeing Mechanic, seeing Mossman, even though they don't speak, seeing Too Bad and Modulok. We got to see a whole variety of characters that we don't usually get to see, so all of that was pretty darn cool. Especially Cyclone, Mechanic, and Mossman for the Warriors. And like I said, just multiple Skeletors. Again, I'm going to repeat it. They're hilarious. What do you got?
Pretty much what you just said. Nice to see Mechanic, Mossman, and all the others. Look at all the Skeletors. That's just awesome. This probably could have been at Snake Mountain, but I don't think we're even going to be going to Snake Mountain this time around. But I did put on here, I just find it funny. It's more so funny than a bad point here. You mean Rainbow Tunnel has nothing to do with the Rainbow Warrior? Really? Come on now. The Sonic soundtrack. The Mini-Me Skeletors are awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could even say somewhat negative about this episode is just nitpicky stuff. Like when they're pulling the Wind Raider through the tar, it's just like a painting going over another painting because there's no waves in the tar or no effect with the background whatsoever. And then Whiplash also had some pretty impressive rock swatting as he swats the rocks and then they assemble a barrier around He-Man or whoever it was around. Like, that would never happen, but I guess Whiplash has talent when it comes to that.
The Mini Skeletors revolt at the end.
That was funny.
When He-Man turned and then when He-Man got to go into the machine, he's like, "Ready, boys?" And they just flip it over and destroy it, and everybody disappears.
It's weird how that one
hilarious.
produced two immediately without having to do it twice.
Yeah, I don't know. But, alright, so awards and rankings?
That's coming up next.
It may not be long before Eternia has a new king. Me! Again! Quiet, Skeletoids, you wonderfully horrible creatures! Get in line! You know what you must do. Off to the Palace of Randor. It will soon be mine. All mine! Here comes King Skeletor!
All right, it's hardware time for the last time today. What do you have to hand out for Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere?
It's the only episode. This is the only time this could ever happen. I give power swords to all the mini Skeletors.
You stole my line. I'm doing the same thing. I gave a power sword out to all the mini Skeletors. I don't care if they call them Skeletoids. I think mini Skeletors is better, but I'm giving power swords to each and every one of them. Power sword for you, and one for you, and one for you. All of them.
Absolutely.
All right. Ranking for Here, There, Skeletors Everywhere. How are we in it today? On a high note?
Oh, yeah, 5.
5
easily.
out of 5 for Mike. 5 out of 5 for the more important one, Kevin.
No, you're not more important.
So double 5s to end the day. So a good day today. I gave out a 5, a 3.5, and a 5. Mike gave out a 5, a 4.5, and a 2.
Wait. Oh, you went back.
I went from highest to lowest.
Oh, okay.
Shut your pie hole.
I was like, wait a second here.
So anyways, good rankings. As usual here in the second half of Season 2, we are ranking the second half of Season 2 leaps and bounds over the first half of Season 1, the second half of Season 1, or the first half of Season 2. This is by far the best half of the entire series so far, according to our ranks. Now, granted, there's a few more episodes left, but so far we're really digging how this whole thing's coming to a conclusion.
Yep.
I mean, and honestly, this is episode 39, so we have basically 5 episodes. So there's 6 episodes, but one's the wrap-up. So we basically have 5 episodes left.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts as far as what you're expecting the rest of the way and what you're wanting for these final 5 episodes?
I don't know. I really don't know what to expect.
14 episodes left, sir.
Yeah, they can't go by fast
Oh,
enough.
wow. Well, how can you say that when we've been ranking so high?
I'm not. I'm just saying, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, it feels like we've been doing this for 5 years now. While doing it is very much fun, I'm ready to watch a different cartoon, God damn it.
I'm not. I'm ready to watch the exact last 14 episodes and see what all we missed. This is, to me, it's the intriguing part because, like I kind of alluded to last episode, these are the last chances to figure out stuff that I forgot from my childhood or things that these are the last ones. We've almost rewatched the entire series, so we only have 14 episodes left, and I'm intrigued as to what else there is that I may remember, may not remember from my childhood, and what characters do show up and don't show up. So I'm actually very intrigued, and I will become more intrigued as we get down closer and closer to the final episode. So I'm definitely looking forward to all 14 episodes. We will have time for She-Ra. We'll have time for Masters in Space. We'll have time to rehash the 2002 show, and luckily for you, each one will get less and less episodes. 35 episodes to 25 episodes to 15.
Yeah, but I mean the shows themselves really get less and less because She-Ra's only 93 episodes.
Yeah, we shrink by 10 episodes in each version of the podcast. So
no, I know, but I'm saying like watching the cartoons, right. She-Ra compared to He-Man, She-Ra's only 93. That crappy New Adventure stuff, I have no idea what it is, and then Masters 2002 is only 39. So.
But I am looking forward to each and every one of the 14 remaining episodes. I don't care what you say.
I'm just saying, I want to watch a different cartoon already. That's all. I'm not saying anything about what I haven't watched yet.
Go watch some Gem or some Mario World or whatever else.
Mario World, why would you bring that
I don't know, whatever you're watching in Pixels and Animation.
Good Lord. Alright, so what are we doing now?
I mean, this is the point of the show where TFG1Mike usually gives us some type of outro and tells people how they can comment and interact with our show.
This part has been edited. Ha ha ha, you'll never know what was actually here.
Today I want to talk to you about winning and losing. When Granomir had his fiery tug-of-war with another dragon, he won fair and square and stopped. He let go, because as soon as you take advantage of being a winner, you really lost. Remember, it's important to be a good loser, but sometimes it's just as important to know how to be a good winner. Winning is no excuse for bad manners. See you next time.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like if time did stand still? The flowers and the plants would never develop to their full potential. And neither would you. Time is important to everyone. Plants, animals, and you. As you grow, you learn. And as you learn, you change and develop. And that development is the thing that determines your future. So time is our friend. If we use our time wisely, we'll enjoy all the good things that life has to offer.
Today we discovered that getting what you want isn't always a good thing. When we like something, particularly something sweet, it's easy to want more and more. But nearly every time, if you have too much of something, no matter how much you want it, you'll find that it disagrees with you. So next time you see some candy, remember, you can have too much of a good thing.
Except me, of course. Right, Man-at-Arms?
We'll talk about it later. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Tales of Eternia. If you'd like to get in contact with us to leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on this and all of our other episode posts. Send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes. Please do this. We still only have 4 reviews in iTunes. Come on,
no, we
people.
have more because I'm about to do one myself.
No, don't.
Just kidding.
Jesus Christ, people will revolt if you do that.
Hurry up and do an iTunes review so I don't have to do one for us.
Follow us on Twitter. @GeekCastRadio is the Twitter handle that you can follow for all the other GCRN updates. Mine is TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
Only one you need to know. OptimusSolo.
Man, I gotta bleep that. Become on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCastRadio Network.
You're so lucky I don't have the time to edit all these.
On the voicemail line, tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the tales today, and don't forget to join us for our next adventure when we continue Season 2, discussing episodes 117, 118, and 119, Beauty and the Beast, Orko's Revenge, and Visitors from Earth. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
the one and only OptimusSolo.
The power of Grayskull. You all have the power.
You're damn right.
Orko.
I'm sure I can handle just a little dragon fire. Wow, yeah, yikes!
Oh no.
Boy, was that a mistake?
Oh, I haven't laughed this hard in 1,000 years.